Loading, I didn't mean to load. I guess I got to figure out a way to start my live streams. Something like a quiet meditation to calm down and unwind before I begin. Maybe that's what I'll begin to do intentionally. But until I figure it out, welcome to Can Angels Fly Tarot Live. I'm Nancy, and today we're here to talk about cultivating culture through divination. I'm going to stop short of going into the divination part. Why? Because I fell asleep. So we're going to talk about culture. So what is a culture? What is culture? Well, www.dictionary.com says that culture is the quality in a person or society that arises from a concern for what is regarded as excellent in arts, letters, manner, and scholarly pursuits. I thought that was an interesting definition for the term culture. But upon rereading that particular definition, I said, hey, I can plug some things in based on culture is cultivated through divination. But as mentioned, I fell asleep. I didn't even get to the divination part. But I will go back and reread the first definition that www.dictionary.com offered for the term culture. Culture is the quality in a person or a society that arises from a concern for what is regarded as excellent in art. Well, if you watch my Aquarius Rambling Rant for October 2018, where I talked about American Horror Story, that what is that, a sitcom or a series, how much I loved it and I appreciate it because it told our whole story, the same story I'm telling here on my channel, in a whole season. It was really nice. So I bring that up because it says that culture is a society that arises from a concern for what is regarded as excellent in arts. We know from that live stream that art is an interpretation or imitation of life. Now I know a lot of this here, this definition stuff ain't gonna make sense, but this the entirety of this live stream is gonna make a lot of sense because culture is something that we've never thought of as a threat. Okay, going back to the first definition, society that arises from a concern for what is regarded as excellent in arts. And art is an imitation or interpretation of life. It also has to do with letters, letters. That didn't make sense to me. until I thought about how language creates spell casting, which is divination. And remember, the first definition said that societies that arises from a concern for what is regarded as manner, like manners. Who has good manners? Well, a manners suggests that there's an establishment or establishing of customs and behaviors. I'm going somewhere with this. I mean to start off slow and speed it up later. It goes on and talks about how the society that arises from a concern for what is regarded to as scholarly pursuits. How does this fit into the theme or subject matter of culture? Cultivating culture. Scholarly pursuit are philosophical reasonings, coming up with the way of understanding stuff. Oh, these doggone little bugs. The next definition for the term culture is the total of the inherited ideas, beliefs, values, and knowledge, which constitute the shared basis of social actions. You often hear me talk about this when I talk about the nines or the ninth house of Sagittarius, representing any major influential institutions in our world that teach us a doctrine. And once we learn that doctrine, we embody that doctrine, and then we live it out. That doctrine is what helps us decide what we will do and what we will not do, what we stand for and what we will not stand for. Now, in short, culture is a group thinking, a state of group thinking. Culture. Let's talk a little bit about group thinking. This video is going somewhere. I'm sure you have no idea where I'm headed. So, just ride the wave with me. Group thinking. What constitutes a group in order for them to think just alike? When there are billions of people on this earth, there is diversity. We love that word, diversity. We do. Ooh, my neck. Excuse me. It is a good quality. But everything has its light and its dark side. Diversity is also division. So, all of the billions and billions of people on this earth are divided by things such as region, race or nationality, class or casting system, age, gender, sexual preference, religion or religions, politics, economics, intelligence, language, talents, knowledge, and specialties. These are just a few of the dividers that exist in our world. Google says that there are 4,200 religions worldwide. I said the other day that it said 4,300. I was close. I went back and looked. It said 4,200 religions worldwide. I'm talking about the diversity, the division that exists in our world. There are 7,000 distinct languages worldwide. There are 200 members of the United Nations. Therefore, these 200 members of the United Nations are representatives of the various nationalities in this world. Right now, we're looking at diversity, the various divisions that exist in our world. Because what we're trying to answer right now during this live stream is, how can group thinking occur? How does group thinking occur when this world is such a large place? Onwards and upwards, division. There are 7 continents in this world and many, many countries. So, what or who constitute a group of people that share a core belief system that governs all of the members' behavior? Remember, any major influential institution that teaches you a doctrine that you absorb and then you act out. Out of all the billions of people in this world, how are we, outside of the norms like language and gender and sex, how do we form groups? Is what I'm saying. We're all mixed up. This is a mixing pot. This space, this place is a mixing pot of diversity. So, in order, identifying how group thinking occurs is difficult when you look at the concept on such a broad platform as the world. Billions of people. 7 continents, many countries, 4,200 religions, 7,000 distinct languages, 200 representatives for the various nationalities around the world. We're talking about various regions, racial, nationality, class systems, age, gender, sex, preferences, political, economic, intellectual, language differences, talents, and skills, all of these differences. How do we find the groups that share in the same mind frame? The people of like minds. It's difficult to do so looking at the world overall. Now, I'm going to say this as a side note. This is why we have our smaller, more intimate social exchanges, so that we can begin to see. But many of us just never get to see. In this video, you will finally see if you follow through with me. But we can use the various traits of culture itself, such as a culture as a group has a concern or common interests. They have a common language. They have an anticipated resolution for their concerns. They have a philosophy, customs, and rituals. They take an oath. The group is a family, and it has a hierarchy. These are the criteria for distinguishing groups of like-minded people. If you ride the wave with me, you'll understand what I'm getting to by the end of this live stream. There are billions of unique people all over the world who share. Out of those billions of people, who shares in the above criteria, those cultural traits, those traits that define that you or I or anyone belong to a group. I think I said that right. Anywho, what we're going to do in order to gain understanding is we're just really talking about the 9th house of Sagittarius in astrology, aren't we? Major influential institutions that teach you a doctrine and therefore govern your mind, the way you think, and therefore the way you act. And now I'm talking about gaining higher understanding. This really has to do with the ninth house of Sagittarius in astrology. So I digress, and I go back to the outline. We're going to cut into culture. CULTURE. We're going to cut into culture just like it's a pie. Slice by slice. Or, how do you mean? Cult, CULT, by cult, CULT. Now, what I failed to do, which I thought would be clever, was write it out with a big bold black marker. But, of course, I forgot to. So, that's what I'm going to do right now for you. And welcome all of you. I don't know, can y'all see that? See, I can't culture. We're going to cut a slice of it out. I think this illustration is important. They say patience is a virtue. We'll see. Y'all let me know if it's worth it. Worth what? Waiting on seeing me draw this little illustration. How are you all doing on this Sunday evening? You would swear I was drawing a masterpiece. So what have we talked about thus far? Because I know to hear people talk sometimes can be really boring. And by the time they get done, we don't know what they done said. I used to have that experience in school and lectures, in church. Then I fell asleep. So, as mentioned, we've been talking about culture and how cultures are cultivated through divination. I shared I didn't get as far as the divination so much. Why? Because I fell asleep. But we sure enough can talk about culture and its significance in our reality. We've talked about how there are so many people in this world, and everything and everybody is diverse. They're unique. So how can there actually be a living, standing culture that actually moves people into action? And we've talked about thus far the criteria that exist amongst all the members of a group that is in culture. And those criterias are that all of the people in a group, in a culture, and when I say this, I want you to think about culture as far as race or nationality. Do all of the members in the black community have these? Do all the members in the Caucasian community have these? Do all the members in that are of Chinese descent or Japanese descent, what is that, Asian, meet these criteria? One, they all members of whatever race is in your mind have a shared concern or interest, because this is necessary for them to be considered a culture, a group. 2, they all have a common language. 3, they have an already established, anticipated resolution to their concerns. Or 3, 4, I know you ain't about to mess with me.
I know you're doing a video and all, but my earring fell out. I don't know how to put the back piece back in.
I know you ain't bothering me. And I just told you, I think this is a joke y'all to set up on me. Give it here. Move your hand. So when I get violent, it hurt you. Put some alcohol on. I just got them new. I don't give a care. I just told you before I started.
No, before I ripped it out.
Get out. You shouldn't have did it. I apologize. So, what were we talking about? We were just focusing on any race and asking ourselves, are they a group? Do they have an established culture? Because in order for it to be an established culture, a group, there's certain criteria that must be met. And so, as you envision the nationality or race or group of people that you imagine, do they fit these criteria? On to the next. They have a philosophy that governs how they think and therefore how they act, what they will do and what they will not do, what they stand for and what they will not tolerate. Does that group have customs and rituals that all members share in? Have the members taken an oath and sworn their allegiance to obtaining that culture, sustaining that culture? And is that group actually a family? Is there a member to play every role that exists relative to that family? A hierarchy. I just asked that. I asked why. Because there are billions and billions of people, and each of us are unique. So, what is culture? And then, what is a group? What is group thinking? Well, I was saying we're going to cut into culture, and I'm going somewhere with this. And you can't even imagine where I'm about to go or where it's going to take us. You can't. I know you can't. If you can, hi Oliver. Happy Libra season to you as well. Thank you for commenting. I bet you can't even imagine. But I will give you a hint. If you watched my rambling rant yesterday about American Horror Story, you may know where I'm going with this. Because after I watched it, I started researching it. It sparked me to do some research. And it's what I thought it was. Through American Horror Stories writers' interpretation of life. It was what I thought it was. So, anyway, we're about to cut into culture. Hope y'all can see that. Cutting into culture. And what do we find? A cult. C-U-L-T. Isn't that interesting? Have you ever noticed that? That cult comes or derives from culture. It is the sir to the word culture. Here's our piece of the pie. One of our pieces of the pie we're going to talk about in the course of this live stream. The cult. Can you see that? C-U-L-T. And that's my little drawing of a pie. Sliced pie. So, let's go on. If I haven't lost my way. So now we are cutting into culture. And we find the sir of the term cult. C-U-L-T. Actually, I think they call that the base, like the base of the word. So we're going to get into that. And I'm going to read my writing so I can keep track. So we have begun to cut into culture like it's a pie, looking at how people of humanity have successfully come together and formed various groups, each sustained by its own distinctive philosophy. Ninth house, Sagittarius. The philosophy of any given cult is its foundation. I need you to hold on to that. So, what is a cult? Now, we just talked about a culture, and there was a strange kind of definition. Culture was, and I had to write this separately because it was pretty confusing. I'm going to read the second definition of culture. Because we had the whole pie at first. Culture. The total of the inherited ideas, beliefs, values, and knowledge which constitute the shared basis of social interaction. Okay, that's culture. And I'm going to try to break it down because I had to literally sit down and break that down because it didn't make sense to me. It didn't, but okay, we'll get there. So right now, we're going to look at the definition of cult, C-U-L-T, just in case I'm not pronouncing it correctly or clearly, as offered by www.dictionary.com. And it says, a cult is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. www.dictionary.com also offers the definition for cult as a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. Now, I want to share some synonyms for the term cult. And the synonyms are sect, denomination, like that was hard. Denomination, group, movement, church, persuasionism, big word, body, fraction. Now, I'm going to give off some clues right here because I can't help myself. I'm going back because remember there are certain criteria that exist that create a group within a group, which is a culture. We're breaking it further down. I'm not going to jump the gun, but a cult. And so right now I'm focusing on the language. Because remember, the original definition of culture had to do with letters, L-E-T-T-E-R-S. And we talked about at that time, reading the definition, that letters, language are all used for spell casting. That is the definition, part of the definition. And just for side note, the other part is mental manipulation. But I ain't get there. Why? Because I fell asleep. So what was I going to say? I'm giving out some clues about where I'm going. Is that the language that a group has exists so they're on the same page. So they understand one another. And so when I was reading the synonyms that go to the term cult, did you pick up on anything that sounded like a group or a sect you belong to? Like, what's the big word I had a problem with, which I shouldn't, which is Why did it happen again? Not domination. Denomination. I remember denomination when I was in church. What denomination do you belong to? What am I saying? Denomination is a word that's used synonymously with cult. What religious denomination are you involved with or have an exchange with? That tells you something. It tells me something. And they did blatantly outright say church. They did as one of the synonyms. But then they also gave the synonym relative to cult as body. I don't know what religious studies you partake in. But when I was in the church, they talked a whole lot about the body, B-O-D-Y, of Christ. And how about this one? And then I'm going to just let it go, let it slide right on past me. Another synonym they offer for the word cult was fraction. F-A-C-T-I-O-N. Now this word sparked a remembrance in me. You know, I always talk about it. The law. Faction was relative to the branch of knowledge known as the law or the judicial system and law enforcement. Right now we're talking about cults, C-U-L-T. So I'm going to move on, and I want to look at what Wikipedia had to say about a cult. A cult is a social group defined by its religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs, or its common interests. That's simple. Now that sounds more like it to me. We came from the word culture. We're familiar with that. We're familiar and friendly with the term culture. But if we take the foundation or the base of the word culture, we find cult, C-U-L-T. And cult is defined by Wikipedia as a social group defined by its religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs and its common interests. Remember, there are criteria that let you know that you are a part of a cult. What was the title of this video, this live stream? Are you in a cult? Well, we're going to find out. And we're going to find out exactly what constitutes a cult and therefore a culture. But I'm jumping the gun. Let me take a little sip. The purpose of a cult and of culture. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to read it a little bit different to include all. The purpose of cults, C-U-L-T-S, and of culture. Well, let's talk about the cult. I just feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong, so I just keep spelling it. C-U-L-T, cult. Trying. Or cults. The purpose. Process and purpose. 1. Cults build a platform based on a particular philosophical viewpoint. I want to give you some examples of what a philosophy is. And I made them just simplified philosophies. Because right now, we're talking about the process and the purpose of the cult. Because we're trying to come to understand ultimately culture and how culture is cultivated through divination. We won't be dealing much with the divination part. Why? Because I fell asleep before I got through with my research. So right now, we're just going to focus on the culture. Cults. They build a platform based on a particular philosophical viewpoint. I want to talk about the philosophical viewpoint right now. What is a philosophical viewpoint? An example, a very simple, simplistic example of a philosophical viewpoint is, 1, humans cannot self-govern due to their lower instinctual nature. Therefore, they need a Lord. That's one. I ain't saying nothing about nobody, but I'm going to repeat that one. Because many of us are under that doctrine. And many of us feel that they have power and authority due to this weakness caused by the human condition. Anywho, humans cannot self-govern due to their lower instinctual nature. You're lustful, is lascivious, sexual, dirty, deviant. So, therefore, you need a Lord. Lord. 2. Another simple, basic philosophy is humans can, total opposite, can govern themselves due to their superior intellect and physical abilities over other species within their environment. Another philosophical or philosophy is women should rule because they have a natural tendency to be patient, kind, fair, loyal, and nurturing. Or one more. Or another philosophy, very simplistic, is certain racial groups should rule or have favor because they are what? Superior. These are just a few examples of the philosophies that exist in our physical realm. And remember, every culture, every cult is founded on a philosophy. What philosophy is any given group or cult founded on? I'm going somewhere with this. About to just make my way through. And yes, y'all, if you have any burning questions, I will be answering them at the end of this live stream. But right now, we're beginning to cut into culture a slice at a time. Now, what we were talking about is the process and the purpose of cults. And then we'll go into culture. Right now, we're talking about the cults. We found that they build a platform based on a particular philosophical viewpoint. We've explored some very minute philosophies. And they also cultivate their philosophical views, meaning they refine that philosophical views. They move to try to make it airtight. They enlist like-minded people to whom they teach and enforce the established philosophy. Like-minded people. We're starting to talk about the energy of like the third house of Gemini. You know, when I talk about them familiar spirits, I'm going to say this because I'm throwing clues out about what cults are. The third house of Gemini, you always hear me talk about it. I talk about the siblings, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, the people from our neighborhood and community, whoever makes up our small social circles, our various small social circles. Today we are talking about culture and cults and groups of like minds. The third house of Gemini points to that. And not only does Gemini point to that, the 11th house of Aquarius speaks about special interest groups. These are people that you may have some common interests with, because you need to do what? Work with them in order to accomplish your goal. But I'm going to move forward, because we're still talking about the cult. The cult, we know, cultivates their philosophical viewpoints. They enlist like minds or people that resonate with them. And their goal is to increase, whose goal? The cult's goal is to increase followers or devotees. Devoted to what? The cause, the philosophy, the cult, the culture. We're going to move forward. What is the function? The function of the followers or the devotees? That's important. When we're talking about culture, cults, groups of like-minded people coming together for a purpose and a cause. The function of the followers or devotees are: 1, spread the word. What word? The philosophical word, what they're founded on, their beliefs. Spread the word. Defend the word. Execute the word or customs into society. Make it the norm. Support and fund the intentions of the cult. How do you fund the cult, the culture? We need to stop and talk about that for a minute. I didn't write it down, but that's important. We are energy beings. Everything we do is energy. When one is expected to support and fund the intentions of the cult, they are intended to put all their energy forward. Now, they can't ask a person, a member, a follower, a devotee, for something they ain't got. But anything that you do have, you are expected to contribute to the sustainment of that cult for the purpose of getting their philosophical viewpoints abroad. Energy. Speaking, sharing, I'm giving my energy away. Contribution. Sweeping the floor somewhere. Anything you do that exhausts your vital life force energy is a contribution. We often think about finances and resources. They want that too. But I want us to come out the box. See, we so crammed. We wrapped in a perfect little gift box. All we think about is paying tithes. Another clue. Giving some money over. But what about your time? Your energy? You know, your words or your communications and how you do it. All those things are energy. And they are a support. They are funding. Giving your vital life force energy over to any culture or cult or group of like-minded people is you investing. Why? Because you believe in their philosophical viewpoints and actually their overall goals. But I'm jumping the gun. What have I been talking about right now? I'm talking about the followers and devotees to the cults, the group, the culture, a culture. Ultimately, the followers or devotees are to have an impact upon what? What is it really about? Why do they need all these people? Really? Is it just about the money? Is it just about somebody sweeping the floor or, contributing whatever they're going to contribute? No, the agenda can be bigger. Ultimately, a follower or devotee has the responsibility of having an impact upon economics, social, political, and spiritual platforms. Way bigger than that organization. Trust and believe. I'm going somewhere with this. And I doubt if you know where I'm going. But if you know where you think you know where I'm going, go ahead and make a guess. So, moving on. Let me see what I got written here. For the purpose of being or becoming a major player or influence upon the state of our reality. What was I just saying? I was talking about all this that is associated with cults and its followers, its devotees, from building the platform, from having a basic philosophical viewpoint, cultivating that viewpoint and making it airtight, enlisting like minds, increasing followers. The followers spread the word, defend the word, execute the word and customs in society. The followers and devotees are expected to support and fund the intentions of the cult, ultimately to do what? Have an impact upon economics, social, political, and spiritual platforms. For the purpose, what is it all about? For the purpose of becoming a major player in this world, a major player or influence upon the state of our reality. I want to stop right here and make sure that I'm making it clear. A cult has a leader. The leader gives them a philosophy, a way of thinking, and therefore a way of action. When it comes to voting, a cult can be looked at as a block, a guaranteed block, a certain number of votes, because they all going to vote the same way, because they all believe in the same thing, and they all headed in the same way. And so I just wanted to interject that and let you understand the power, make sure that you understand the power of the cult. Now, I don't want to jump ahead. All we doing right now, y'all, is slicing the pie. We ain't pulling no pieces of pie up yet, but we slicing it. We don't want it to fall apart. So, on to the next. Let's see what I have written. That is what to say, talking about why all this is done, to become an influential player in this world, is that most powerful cults create the framework and undertone of our world's reality. I'm going to say that again, and I hope you hang on to what I'm saying if you get it. Is that the most powerful cults that have ever existed, including now and in the future, create the framework of our reality. Not only do they create the framework of our reality, they create the undertone that moves our reality. The world's reality, past, present, and future, is a culture. Back to the word culture. The world's reality is a culture. So, the culture, a cult, governs the morality and the values of the people, the group members. Let me see if I can make this make sense. I don't want to jump ahead, so I'll try again. The culture is governed by the cult, philosophical viewpoints that dictate how the members think. Not just the members, because we're talking about the most powerful cults in the world. They are the framework, their philosophies, their viewpoints, their way of doing things are the frameworks of the world. And it's also the undertone that moves this world. So, the culture, putting the whole word back together, governs all of our realities based on their moral values, their moral compasses. Yeah. And I wrote this here, and I'm trying to see how I can say it. That I might forget. I'm going to just move on. So I'm going to move on. This is the rules of the land. What's the rules of the land? Whoever the dominating cult or cults are in this world create the rules of this land and govern the people. Do you fit with the controlling cults? That's what I was trying to say. Because if you don't fit with the controlling cults, you might just have a problem during their reign, But I'm on. So this is the rules of the land and governs the people economically, socially, politically, and ultimately spiritually. Now, I just said that a page ago, that there is a bigger agenda associated with any given cult. They have some founding fathers or a founding person, a leader. There's a hierarchy that is established. Members are enlisted, people that resonate with them, people of like minds. The people or the followers or the devotees are expected to give their energy to the cult, to the purpose. Ultimately, for what? To have an impact upon this world, economically, socially, politically, and ultimately spiritually. They are able to do so because they are a block vote. A block vote. Guaranteed. So many votes. Guaranteed so much power and influence based on various aspects associated with which roles each member plays in the world outside of their cult. What am I saying? Somebody can be a part of a cult that shares, that cult shares in a philosophical viewpoint and all that kind of stuff. But on the outside world, there's a judge, a police officer, a minister, a live-in home mom, daycare provider, you name it. They have social influence and impact. So, it was a movie I wanted to talk about, and I meant to look it up, but I didn't. Of course, y'all know I got to say that at some point in time when I'm making a video, a live stream. But I think the name of the movie was called The Kings of Egypt or The Gods of Egypt. It was a beautiful production. But it was this part in the movie where the kings, I think it was the kings came to crown the succeeding king, I think it was Horus or something like that. And oh, it was Horus. What's the other one's name? Horus and yeah. Anyway, the uncle was jealous, and he killed the reigning king, exiled the king that was supposed to succeed, and he took the throne. He kidnapped the throne, overthrew the throne, and took it for himself. But at that time, in this scene, the gods of Egypt or something like that, it was something that was said that was very, very interesting to me. How a person got into the afterlife, or where they would go in their afterlife, depended on the regulations the sitting king, the active king, gave during his reign. One king said, anybody can get into heaven. You personally determine where you go in the afterlife through your own personal activities in life. You know, that's about the heart being light as a feather, is what he was saying. But then the overthrowing king said, no, we're not doing that. Only people that can make it into heaven are those that can buy their way in. So you better work hard so you can have just one piece of silver for the Anubis or whoever it was. But why do I bring that up? Because we're talking about, in that movie, that was a artistic depiction, art imitating life, as a political move that actually had impact upon the followers, the devotees. So, and it also, I mean, it gets deep because it also had a connotation directly associated with economics. The workers, the followers were slaves that didn't earn much of anything. When they died, they had nothing to give to Anubis or whoever it was in order to go to heaven. So if they were poor, they immediately went to hell. Why is this relevant when speaking about cults? Because what I'm saying, if you're really paying attention, is that a cult's ultimate, some cults' ultimate intention is to gain influence in this world so that they can do what? Change regulations and laws. I hope that makes sense. Another thing y'all know I gotta say. So, let's talk about a few slices of pie. I gotta keep showing my drawing. A few slices of pie of culture, or from culture. That is to say, spotlight some common cults. Each cult we speak about will embody these 7 basic criteria. A founder, or a head, or a leader, or a founding group or father. 2, a philosophy, a concern, or cause. 3, they will build their following or devotees through recruitment. 4, they will have teachings that will be shared amongst the like minds. 5, they will have a common language. Having a common language is something that I think many of us mundane folks overlook. But the language of any given cult is very, very important. And I may have to do a video about it. But I want you to be aware that every single cult has its own language. 6, each cult has its own customs and rituals. And 7, this is another thing I don't think people pay attention to, is that every cult member takes an oath. OATH. Before we move forward and focus on a few of the cults, some that we are aware of cults and others that we are not, I would like to talk to you a little further about oath. OATH. What is an oath? An oath is a vow of devotion and willingness to participate and to dedicate oneself to the cause through contributing one's energy, whether physically, mentally, financially, through networking or spiritual, etc. As a member of a cult, you are expected to give what you have, but no more. So I did talk a little bit about that. Now, going into the cults, I kind of got them on the screen. I want to start with one that's very popular, it still trends now. After what? 40-something years, 50 years. After 50 years. And I know y'all can guess this one. The Manson family. So let's talk about it. Because we're going to identify, this portion of the live stream is about truly identifying the various cults that exist in our world. Because we understand that cults have influence, or they can. Now, I think I should do this little scribbly page. It's not much. I was just scribbling. Is that cults come in all sizes as far as members, and shades as far as intentions and things like that. Something that else I don't think that we're aware of, and so we don't understand the significance of a cult or culture itself, is that some cultures or sects, you gotta say that, sex, I'm not saying it right, can be benign or benevolent, and others can be malefic. As mentioned, a cult can vary or do vary in their intentions. They also vary in their influence upon the world outside of themselves. Cults or sects, I said sex, cover various aspects in our lives. Hopefully I can make that make sense during this portion of the live stream, that a cult or cults cover various aspects in our lives. But the question to ask yourself is, which cults or sects, here it goes again, are moving to spread its philosophies worldwide. Now, I started with the most popular one that I know of, and it's Charles Manson. The Manson family. The period of this cult was in the late 60s. The name of it, of the cult, was the Manson's family. The founder was Charles Manson. The group or the family size were about or approximately 100 people, mostly females. Now I want to stop and just interject this here. as we study this particular type of cult, we could go much deeper. Because this cult leader, Charles Manson, if I'm not mistaken, had some deep psychological issues. And now, right now, I'm talking about referring to the 12th house of Pisces, which talks about after all your life experiences, what will you project into the world? Charles Manson, I do believe, had some deep emotional and psychological issues, as well as many of these members, especially the women. Now, the common rituals and practices associated with this known cult was being promiscuous and all that kind of stuff, and also the usage of hallucinogenic drugs. That was a part of their practice and rituals. Now, remember, there's criteria that reveals that a person is a part of a cult. That's the title of this live stream. Are you in a cult? Well, first you got to know what a cult is. So right now I'm going over some established cults so we are clear about what a cult is. And each of the cults we talk about will establish, we will find present all the 7 criteria that I have written down. Back on to the Manson family and Charles Manson. And Charles Manson, his philosophy was, give me a minute. Hello. Yes. Get her what? Oh, well, you know what, Call Pearl, because I am in the middle of a live stream. Y'all just really been messing with me lately. Call Pearl. Bye. Huh? Yes. Okay. I don't. Okay. Bye. I ain't never off duty, y'all. I swear to goodness. Yeah, I swear to goodness. They say I ain't supposed to swear. At least that's what I've been told. But I am never off of duty. Let's see. This is important. Otherwise, I would not. So, Charles Manson. Manson family. We soon will be talking about the philosophy that governed governed the cult and was taught. I'm calling because Sweets needs her phone as well as her formula and all of her things. So please bag them up. I am still live. Goodbye. They're on their way. Oh, being a mom. It's nothing better. Charles Manson. Philosophy. Now, you know I do the majority of my research when I'm at home on www.wikipedia.com. So Wikipedia said that Charles Manson's philosophy, they believe, was borrowed from the process church of the final judgment, whose members believed Satan would become reconciled to Christ, and they would come together at the end of the world to judge humanity. So that's supposed to be the basis and the foundation of the Manson family philosophy. But they also had the philosophy that Manson himself was a manifestation of Jesus, and that he gave prophecies of a race war. Anyway, if you really go into the detailed facts surrounding the Manson family, you would, it'll take you to a whole nother level. They were at, the Manson family was located in the deserts of California. And remember, I also said there's always a common language. Laughing at me, Jordan. There's always a common language amongst any cult. And I just want to say this term, helter skelter. See how that term, or those terms, helter skelter, is synonymous with Charles Manson and the Manson family. The meaning of helter skelter would have never been known if it was not for, the legacy Charles Manson and Manson family left for this world. That was their language. That was their code. So I want to go and I want to talk about these. I'm just hitting a few little other cults that I look at as cults. And I fell asleep. This is where I fell asleep. So, and of course, after pages are inactive, I chose a few religious sectors that I'm familiar with. It's no disrespect. One is Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm not isolating Jehovah's Witnesses from any other religion. As far as I'm concerned, they're all cults. They all are cults. Why? Because they all fit the criteria for a cult that creates a culture. The Jehovah's Witnesses were founded by Charles Russell. The philosophy, I can't remember. My mom was a Jehovah's Witness. I can't remember what it was about. I don't think at the time they believed in Jesus Christ. I think they recanted that and changed it, but I ain't sure. But I know that they believed that God had to come back and he was the only way that humanity could be dealt with. So that was their philosophy, and I'm just simplifying it. So again, no disrespect to anyone. So we talked about the founder, the philosophy, and we can also say a concern when it comes to religion. It's the downslide of the world itself, and there needs to be justice. We know that they build the following of devotees through people that have a like mind. They have a like mind. They look out into the world, any religion, and most religions, and they see that the world is on a downslide and it needs salvation, and there's no thing that one person can do. They need a Lord, a Savior, or salvation. And so they go to the church, and the church opens up. They had a welcoming ceremonies. They invite you in. They go through the whole welcoming process, baptismal, whatever they do, depending on what religion you may be into. However, and then each religion has its teachings. Catholic, I jumped the gun. I was a Christian. I called it Christian Baptist. I didn't know what they was doing. However, we had the teachings about Jesus. And so, the old saying, what would Jesus do? Well, I knew what Jesus would do because it was a part of the doctrine that was taught. And one of them is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Give unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, those kind of things. And so what am I talking about? These teachings that were taught to me consistently from when I was in church as a little girl upwards helped to cultivate the state of my mind and my mental filter, as well as all of those that sat in the pews in front of me, behind me, and on the side of me. There was a common language. At one time, I attended a church where they used the term, I was supposed to be focusing on Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses talk about evangelism. What did my mom used to do? Go out and minister. I forgot. But Jehovah itself is synonymous with Jehovah's Witnesses. So we're talking about a common language that exists. And then there are rituals. I remember my mom as a Jehovah's Witness used to go somewhere to to memorial services or something like that, but she would go off in New York or somewhere. And so they have customs and the rituals. They also, you know, take an oath. Again, y'all, this is where I fell asleep, so I'm kind of thrown off. Didn't get to write my notes. But, oh, another thing is the members. The membership to the Jehovah's Witnesses was something that I was interested in citing. On Wikipedia, it says their worldwide membership to Jehovah's Witnesses is 8.45 million people. Wow. And so understanding what I'm saying, another part of their practices or oath is like, I remember my mom, she had to stop smoking cigarettes. She had to stop drinking. She had to, she gave up all holidays and birthdays. That was an oath. I won't celebrate my birthday. My mom became a Jehovah's Witness in her 50s. After celebrating my birthday for 50 years, I won't do it. After celebrating Christmas for 50-some years, I won't do it. So that was an oath. And so what am I saying? I'm talking about there are 7 various criteria that let you know you're in a cult. When I speak of the Jehovah's Witness, I can fill in each one of those criteria. I can see each one of those criteria present relative to Jehovah's Witnesses. As I said, I'm not singling out Jehovah's Witnesses. It doesn't matter which one it is. Thus far, we've talked about the Manson family, Jehovah's Witness. Now we have Catholicism. Now, I know being Catholic, Catholicism will go way back. And it has a lot of political power. How could I say this? Political power. When they call me, they throw me off. Now, Catholicism from the Greek means universal doctrine. I'm not even going to try to guess, even though I'm looking on Wikipedia, how many members there are in Catholicism across the world. This is way too many people, I'm sure. But we know that they have a large body of followers. We know that Catholicism has its customs and rituals. Everything from keeping relics to burning candles and incense and hymns and prayers. There is also the taking of the oath. And the thing is, we get sidetracked because we are not aware that we're taking the oath. I'm going to just go out here. And I'm probably going to make somebody mad. But here we go. Hail Mary, full of grace, whatever such it is. I can't remember now. Can that be an oath? That you're venerating Mary, that she can stand in intercession between you and divinity, so your loyalty is to make sure that you go through her in order to get to divinity. Okay. And that was kind of sketchy. So if y'all want to argue and fuss at me, I accept. But I'm just sharing here how each one of these religions, at least the ones that I know or are familiar with, have each of these criteria present as far as relative to their existence. And then there is the teachings of the Catholic Church. And traditionally, if I'm not mistaken, I'm kind of getting my wires crossed because I did not finish my research. Therefore, I didn't write notes. But traditionally, I think the Catholic Church was associated with damnation. That is a teaching, a doctrine, a fear tactic in order to have the parishioners line up and behave themselves. Let's see. There is a common language also that exist in Catholicism. And number one, it could be like Jesus Christ. Everybody does not adhere to Jesus Christ. The terms like theology or what else? What else is Orthodox? Even though I know Orthodox can be used in various ways, but the first time I was really introduced to like the term Orthodox was through relative to Christianity, Catholic, and hold on, I'm getting no, was that Christianity? See, that's why I'm getting my wires crossed. The Pope is also synonymous with the Catholic Church. Now, when I speak of the Catholic Church, I want to go back in order to make something clear. That the Catholic Church, the religion itself, is a cult. As a cult, it is a culture, a way of life, a way of doing, shared by all of the members. The ultimate goal of the heads of the cult, and sometimes it trickles down, the members may be aware about what's taking place, but that goes back into the intellect. We've talked about that person's IQ. So if you have highly intellectual people, they understand the platform of Catholicism in this case is for a bigger picture outside of the cult. But for others that may be with a lower IQ or dim-witted may not see that there is the platform associated with Catholicism in this, in this case, has a bigger agenda. They may not be aware of it. Right now, the awareness of the followers is irrelevant. Because what we're talking about is the actual cult, and it's being established for the purpose of having an impact in the world. Catholicism, as is Christianity, I guess you could say, or are they interchangeable? I don't know. That's the kind of research I needed to do. Are cults that became the most powerful cults in the world. Each of them fit a criteria, all the criterias relative to being a cult. And the Catholic or Christian, I will say that I may be wrong using them, so closely, has massive social, economic, and political power. I'm not going to rest on religions because that's not what I'm really here to talk about. What I'm really here to do is identify some of the things that are cults that we are not aware of. Why am I moving to do so? It is so ultimately we come to understand that our world is composed of many, many cults. Many. A cult can be what? Benevolent or benign, ain't gonna do nothing. But it can also be a malefic cult, such as Hitler and that whole regime then. That was a cult. Did you know your book club can be considered a cult? Your family is a cult. But the question, see, we have been shoved in this pretty gift box and tied up and a bow been put upon us. And we've sat there. And we don't understand what a cult is, nor its significance, or how blocked power for a purpose, intentional purpose, is cultivated, harnessed through the cult. Now, families is mentioned are cults as well, can be a cult. But the question is, what is their intentions? What is their ultimate goal, their concern, their purpose? Are they malevolent or benefic? What is the social outreach? How powerful, if they were to boom the family, blow up, how far would their outreach go? But think about the Catholic Church. If it was how far would the influence go? It would tear the whole world up. See, two different cults, or two different, I don't want to say that word because YouTube be tripping, blow up. They will have two different levels of impact. Another thing I've shared during the course of this live stream is that cults cover every single aspect in this world. As I just mentioned, your book club can be one. Now, yes.
I wanted you to see my face because I'm about to go to sleep.
Oh, well, I'm so happy that you care that I see your face. Because you usually don't care. But thank you. Let's talk about the book club. So y'all don't think I'm just S-ing y'all. So, the name. A book club. What period? Any given time. The founder. Who can be the founder? It can be a group. The person that actually create the book club. That is the head or the lead. We can have the book selector. The person that selects the book. Because we're talking about the founder or the leader. Or it can be, who could be the leader? The hosting house. You know how they jump house to house in order to do what? To do what? Oh, hold on. To do what? To perform the custom. And what is the custom? Reading and discussions. How many members? 2 or more members usually. It varies again. What's the purpose, though? What is the purpose or the intent? It is to entertain oneself. These could be the philosophical viewpoints, why a person does what they do. Entertain themselves, or to enhance one's imagination, or to socialize, or to build your vocabulary, or to build literacy or sustain literacy. Philosophical viewpoints. Now, I brought up the book club to show how even a book club fits the criteria that shows that they're a cult. But this particular cult is benign. It doesn't have any true influence in the world. It's not its intentions to have a social, political, or spiritual impact upon the masses. That's not its intention. It's still a cult. It's still a group of people with like minds or common interests. And they have a culture. In this case, the book culture is about enhancing one's literacy. And they have a language as well. I forgot to say that. Now, their language is defined by what? The material that they're reading. What am I trying to show you? Is that our whole world is made up of various cults. I talked about all the diversity that exists in this world. There are still some cultures in this world, I have heard, that still adhere to the traditional ways. The hierarchy, the philosophy, and some people look at it as, I say, kind of racial in this new age, but I get them. They have their own cult. And they know, long as they have that block influence, that they can move mountains. The Bible said a person can tell a mountain to move from here to there. They have power. Another thing that I've attempted to talk about, and I'm kind of jumping, during my astrological interpretations, is how none of us, not a one of us, can do or move mountains alone. That we have to learn how to successfully connect and belong and work with others for a common goal or purpose. And that I bring that up because it plays back into this energy of the cult and of the corresponding culture relative to any given cult. Why am I making this video now? Well, it's because it's a video I should have been made about 6 months ago. I did try to make one, but it didn't go well. The group is, actually this was back during the election. I started making it. That's when that information came. Right now I'm just reflecting back when I saw in the stars to make a video such as this. It was back during the last election. And I did make a few videos, but it didn't get to the heart of what was taking place. And it was about identifying these various cults or special interest groups. Some are benign. They're not going to cause you any trouble. It's they don't even have the intentions to have an impact upon the world, the state of your reality. But then there are other cults, political cults, the judicial system, various things like that, that do have malefic intent and are bent on causing or influencing or having an impact upon the reality that we live in. There are certain cults that share in all of the they have all the criteria. They meet all the criteria. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to stop here because I didn't write it down. But I want you to be aware that unless you're standing completely alone, our world is composed of cults. I need you to understand that. Whether it's religious, whether it's a book club, whether it's law official, whether it's judicial, just like in the judicial. The judicial system, see, some of these institutions, I'll say, go way back, long before our time, long before our parents' time. So we're not seeing these institutions for what they are. But even our judicial system is a cult. And all 7 of those criteria to be in a cult, they fit in. And the one thing I talk about is the language. You ever been in court? You hear them talking? When you see the laymen and people, it's like you be looking at the attorneys and the judges' words going over your head. Like, what are they talking about? They have their own language. Understand? And the purpose of it, and it's a hierarchy. We know we have the attorneys, the judges, the lawyers. We got Supreme Court. There's layers to that. But they share in a common interest. Supposed to. And it's supposed to be about managing our world, keeping it fair and just and balanced, those kind of things. The judicial system, justice. And it's also, the issue is, and I'm going to stop here as far as this. The issue is that it appears, now that I'm looking at what I interpreted, when was the election? 2016? Has it been 2 years already? They haven't it? I lost track. Anywhere, whenever it was. Since that time, it was like I didn't have the right terms or labels to use. But using the word culture and cult has shown me how our social structure really works. It is shown or revealed to me how certain groups rise and take power. Namely, talking about like the Catholic Church, the judicial system, including the whole government thing. These systems are old as time. So we don't know them from the foundation and from the root. We're not recognizing them as cults. And these cults have become corrupt. Right now, what am I doing? I'm tying in what I've just recently learned, with all the astrological studies I've done over the last year or so. They've become corrupt. Why? They've been in place so long. They're old as time. We can't see the boundaries of them anymore. They are or have become self-contained. However, they have become increasingly corrupt cultures. And if those particular things are supposed to be for the people, and that's another thing, for the people. I also talk about in my various videos and live streams that the people, what was I saying about the people? Is that, I forgot what I was going to say. I'm going to make myself forget everything, jumping from one thing to another. So, what I noticed during my studies today, I realized that if you, I don't know what you follow on YouTube, I always say that, but there is this shifting that's taking place. We talk about the ascension, the descension, and the awakening, and all of these shifts that are taking place. I know at one time it was talking about how, remember I say it up in something like this: we have the right to ascend or descend. We can do whatever we want to do. We have the right to bring heaven upon this earth, or we can bring hell upon the earth. Again, it's up to us, but the truth of the matter is the majority rule. And so, let me go back in time when the Catholic Church was established, the whole institution, where the judicial system was established, the whole institution. And so then we got to go across. We start talking about Great Britain in the live stream. So all those things go way back, long before our time. What am I saying? There are people here on YouTube that talk about aliens and reptilians. I tell y'all, I don't know nothing about it, but I don't doubt it. But they talk about how their time is up. The people in power, time is up. And when I was doing this study about the cult and the culture, I understood that the cult, the Catholic Church, the cult, the judicial system, the cult, the law, the cult, this, their time is up. That cult, those various cults rose into power. And they have maintained their empire, cultic empire. I like that, cultic empire, for generations, decades, what's the hundreds, centuries. Now is the time, due to their corrupt nature, I think they are in review now upon this new information, that it's time for them to step down. So what we need to be aware of, just like going back in history, see, you can't get rid of history. No, ain't no way. If you think about Hitler and that whole regime and the Holocaust and all that kind of stuff, that was a cult. And you know what Hitler's plan was? His philosophy? It was supremacy. And that they were going to take over the world. It was theirs. That's what that cult moved on. But they was going up against other political powers like the United States, and who had already established themselves as the head cult. And like, what you gonna do? Why? And whoever else was established at that time, they had to go in there and take that fool down, because he was going to put his cult and over all other cults in the world, and it would have ruled the world. We're back at that point in time. So, and it's another thing we're dealing with. We look at everything in the now, immediately. And a lot of what I've seen that has come and gone in this world, it didn't happen, most of it overnight. It took hundreds of years. decades, you know, decades upon decades into hundreds of years. So the people are failing, the general people. Humanity is failing because we're living here in the now. But that has to do with the corrupt system. So what is all this rambling about? To let you know that right now it appears that a new cult or sect is possibly on the rise. And we will have to be very aware of what is taking place, who are the main players. And we talked about some of the main players, cultic empires, the United States, Russia, China, Israel, the main players. Ooh, that going to Bible prophecy. See, I wasn't paying attention to this. They say Israel was supposed to come back online as what? Top culture. It's also a religion. And it has, this is getting good, y'all. This is getting good. If I could stay awake, I might be able to learn something. So, my point is to keep your eyes, number one, know what cults you personally are involved in and what their intentions are. There are people that are a part of cults or sets, a culture, and they do have intentions. And they come together to become strong, a muscle, a block, so that they can have impact upon this world. There are, and I've spoke of it, there are groups or sects or cults that have an interest in dominating the world, just like Hitler did. Or starting a race war, like Charles Manson did. But Charles Manson did not have a lot of power. But look what he was capable of doing. Hitler, one man, look at what he was able to do with block power. So here we are again at the crossroads. And there are, remember, these various cults cover various aspects of our life. When I speak of religion, the religion's sectors, religious institutions, primary purpose in this world outside of the cult. Now, when the religious institutions, heads of the institution sit with authorities, the people in power of this world, they tell the religious institutions, your work is to take care of the people, to handle the people, to oversee the people, to help control the people's way of thinking. That's the area you deal with. Judicial system, government system. You are over X, Y, and Z. You will make the laws. You will enforce the laws. Yada, 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 yada. You will build prisons. However, see, this is what we're getting mixed up because there's so many different cults. They're on different levels, have different intentions. We're talking about the most malefic ones. Some are openly more malefic than others, but a lot we cannot see. Whatever cult is the supreme cult supremacy that exists, cultic empire that exists, has the power, the voting power, the manpower. Remember, their members, whatever the cult is, I don't care. I'm not being biased. I'm not picking on nobody. Our whole world is created socially of various cults. Right now, we're talking about the most powerful people in the world that have ill intentions. They are malefic to the rest of humanity. They have a platform, and that platform does not change. They are like minds. They want to do what is the question. Right now is the time on the timeline relative to history that it appears that there's going to be a little shift that occurs to the cults in power. Now, depending on which cult ends up being supreme, is the one that will make the rules and turn to the government and say, this is the philosophy that we are executing. This is what we believe in. And every law that you make has to be written in order to support our philosophical views and viewpoints. Period. And this is another thing that we need to go into in a whole nother live stream, talking about the laws and how, and I did it before New Year's Eve. It's called Kiss the Head Badger's Ass. Kiss the Head, the Head Banger's Ass. Yeah, that one. So y'all can go watch that. It was New Year's Eve with this year, where I talked about that. So I'm not even going to go into it. So anyway, we didn't cut our piece of the cultural pie, and we have tasted it, and now we know what it is seasoned with. So I'm gonna let y'all go, unless you got any burning questions you like to ask. If you do, please compose them and I will answer them. You'll say, yeah, you went to mass today. Jesus and I, my queen video, that's all churches were required to play during mass. A message from a cardinal, I walked out. It was silly propaganda to me. You're waking up, and that's what's leading to this shift. Keep speaking the truth, Nancy. Thank you, Jordan. Nikki, I honestly believe in Jesus was on earth today, he would remove the Vatican. He ain't gonna get rid of the Vatican. Might get rid of the people in the Vatican. It's too much important information in that Vatican that we need to see. Yeah, we need to see. I'm tired of being a little player on this field, because all I'm doing is getting kicked in the caboose. Like in the Bible, when he went into the temple and was furiously that the trading and barters of gold was going on in our Father's temple, a place of worship. Yep. Throw that mother sucker up, they say. Disrespectful mother suckers. That's what they say. And so we got to look into all of these things, all of the stuff we've been studying, but a lot of it had other meanings. Oh, we're in this place now. I'm trying to be calm. Okay, Shauna, is my job going to fire me when I go back? Is Shauna's job, or not? Are the authorities at Shauna's job going to fire her when she goes back? The job can't fire you. The people that are over you can. What's here? It says the Six of Pentacles, Shauna. The 6 represents balance, harmonious give and take. It's very reciprocal energy. It also has to do or corresponds with the 6th house of Virgo. And it talks about everything that you're required to do from day to day in order to keep life moving, including helping others, whatever the case may be. In this case, it's talking about work. It talks about how if you've done your job, I don't know what's to happen. You know, you might have missed too many days because of something, or you got sick, or or another emergency, whatever the case may be. You might have got over emotionally at work and just wham, had to go. But my question is, before whatever's transpired, what was your work ethic like? With the 6 of Pentacles, it talks about your actual contribution into work, your work ethic, your abilities, your skills. You know, those kind of things. How efficient or practical you are in relationship to your job. In short, was you making your job money? And were you doing it good? Because if you can say, I know I'm the best employee they got, my plaque is on that wall every month, I'm the best employee, then you're fine. But if you've been one that's been known to steal or cause some type of consistent imbalance in the workplace, when you go back, you might as well go back and pack your stuff up and get ready to leave. And that's why they'll be letting you go, if that be the case. So, have you heard of the flat earth? I've heard of the flat earth. I personally don't believe in it. And then on the level that I am, as small as I am, it don't matter to me if it's flat or round. I can't see it all anyway. I can barely handle my space. However, you know, that's for NASA and them. Or if I have to go out there, then I need to know that. But as of now, and then I'll share in some of the videos that I made. I have a flat earth video, flat earth, round earth video from a few years ago. And I also talked about it in my Have You Ever Spoken to Demons, where I interviewed my son. And he tells the story about the earth being round. And so I share what I've come to know or witness in my life in certain videos, Jordan. I missed days, just got into it with a customer. Okay, well, what about what was happening before? Were you good at what you did? Or is this consistent? If it's consistent, the company, the business, the owner is not going to jeopardize their well-being and their business, or take the chance, have the opportunity, allow the opportunity to open up for them to be sued. And so the only way they're going to stand with you if they find you are worthy of you know, being stood up for. You know, that's just a damn good worker. And if she got mad, then there's a reason she got mad. And I stand behind her. You know, so that's what you're looking at. What religion or sect is Illuminati? Is it Kabbalah or other? I just did a video on the Illuminati. It's a live stream, Nikki. I invite you to go look at it. But I described the Illuminati as the various, there are various established segments or sectors or cults that are over the various fields of study or branches of knowledge. I gave the example of the Rosicrucians, who are over, at least I know, music and frequencies and vibrations. What am I saying? The Rosicrucians are over music and all that it consists of. They understand what every frequency does, every wave and every vibration. That is their study. They study it, they record it, and they carry it safely through the history of humanity, handing it down from generation. That's why it's a special interest, is to make sure that that information is never lost, because it was too hard to come by. And then the Freemasons are over another branch of knowledge, or certain branches of knowledge, and they do all the researching, they pull it in, like they have all of the scientists and whatever field they're over, do all the work, and they pull the information in and they store it, like the vaults in the Vatican. They have all that. What might the Vatican be over? Stuff that has to do with the humanity in existence. In those vaults, that's what they're over. And they will be over it for the history of this world. And ain't nobody getting in unless you know, however you get through their ranks. That's what that is. It says, my work ethic is good. I know I'm the best employee. Okay, very good. Not really, Jordan. It's just that one thing. I don't watch TV, though, Jordan. Okay, I'll view it. All right, very good. What's the energy for me in October? Let's see. All right, Jordan. The Three of Hearts the Three of Swords in reverse, pointing back to the Two of Swords. It says that you have made a decision about how you want to communicate and or socialize with others outside of yourself. But even though you've made a choice about how you want to communicate or who you want to communicate with or what plan you want to follow, it just doesn't seem to go your way with the Three of Swords. It's some type of opposition. It almost seems like there just aren't the others listening, or joining in on your plans. So, or there's a lack of interest that exists from people that you're interested in having an exchange with. So, and so it's a disappointing place. It just depends on how much you have invested in the plan that you set up, or the choice you made, or the person you want to hang with. How much have you of yourself emotionally have you invested in it, because it can affect you on an emotional level when it doesn't move forward. And so the thing is to keep working on the plan, keep trying to extend yourself to specific people, how to say, not specific, but it's like you never know who's going to vibe well with you. So you just got to kind of keep yourself out there, keep being social, getting out, meeting people. Like me, I'm ignored everywhere I go, but occasionally I meet people that you think I was a superstar. I'm like, dang, usually people ignore me, so it's something like that for you in the month of October, and you can break through it by not giving up. You got your plan, but there are some blockages to your plan. Again, whatever your plan is, or whom you want to communicate, or what you want to communicate, or how you want to communicate it, there's a blockage. But just don't give up. Keep moving forward. Okay, I will try. Thank you. Very confusing to me. And hurricanes too. Looking forward to watching your Flat Earth and Illuminati video. It's very confusing who is involved and who isn't. Is NASA or others? You know what? NASA, to me, is, remember, I just said it during this live stream, nobody can one person cannot accomplish anything. So put yourself in the shoes of the most powerful and most wealthy person in the world. You have influence. You got social influence. You know the people at NASA. You know people in the Vatican. So you can't read all the stuff in the Vatican. You can't measure the earth all by yourself. So what you do is you turn over to your buddies over there, and that's NASA. They ain't NASA yet. And you say, you know what? I want to call you NASA. And you over whatever NASA stand for. I want you to measure the earth in anything you can measure it relative to. I want you to find out the earth flat around. I want you to do this and that. I want you to see how long we can suspend in the air. And then record that information. And once you record that information, I want you to send it over to, I don't know, the Freemasons. Freemasons, I want you to keep this information because this goddamn was too hard to come by. And you are to carry it and safeguard it to the end of time. Because you got the influence, they say, all right, I sure enough will. And you all work together. And whatever information you three find out will be used to help you advance in life. It will be it will help a person or you obtain what they want in this physical world. This is where selfishness and greed is stemming from on a high level. Because these people that have a high IQ, that are intelligent, genius, they're genius because they keep digging. They're proficient. They won't stop. And they're categorizing this all, and they're finding these various medicines and things. But when they do, they're not going to give that information away. Why? They know something the rest of the world don't know. So they can do what? Increase their power and wealth and control over the remainder of the world. And if you literally track everything that happens on the world, there is a reason, a bigger reason, why they do that. Even bigger than greed. So, you're welcome, Jordan. Oh, wow, interesting. Why Freemasons, though? Now, I don't know exactly because I haven't gone into that line of study to see what Freemasons are over as far as recording and safeguarding and keeping from through all eternity readily accessible in order, integrity. We've been talking about that. I don't know what they're over. I would have to go and study Freemasons as much information as they offer the general public in order to see. The only reason I know that Rosicrucians have something to do with music because I went to visit one of their halls and sat in on one of their meetings, and it was just shown. All I saw was various. I was like, why is that here? And it's just like in movies when they'll show you a clue real quick. What they call it when they throw something at you real quick? I can't think of the word. And so I just picked up on it. I was like, oh, I get it. And then I was somewhere else and same thing happened. Oh, goodness, what is the word? And I said, oh, I got it. And I finally got to realize, based on the various experiences I've had, visiting places and doing things. And then I always tell you, it's usually not just about one experience I have in my life. I've had a vast amount of experiences. Some of what I experience now goes with some of what I experienced 20 or 25 years ago. And however I'm built mentally, I don't forget. It spark it up and say, well, go to that, go check that. It's called cross-referencing. Okay. And so I bring that up because you asked about the Freemasons. I don't know exactly what they're over. I talked about the Rosicrucian because I had the upfront and close experience. But what I'm saying, if a person could compile a list of all the secret conspiracy societies and then research each one of them, you will find out the branches of knowledge that they are over. Overdoing what? Storing the found information and carrying it safely through all of this physical existence. So it's never lost. So it can be accessed. So it can be built upon. Those kind of things. So, I don't know about them. Why not American Indians or Shermans? They have the highest knowledge. They have the highest, how do you know that? And then let's say American Indians and the Shermans do have a high level of knowledge. In what field? They may have a higher level of knowledge on the spiritual plane, but spirituality is one thing. Spirituality don't have no body. This physical plane is all physical. So even when you go to war, even going to war, spirit can't hurt the physical. I've talked about this before. This is where possession and various things come in, where a spirit has to come in and take over a physical vessel in order to do what? Wage war, fight, cut, and hurt the physical. And so they're two different experiences. And so they offer two different things. But what I have suggested, based on my studies, the most powerful people in this world are attempting, you hear me say this, to overcome death. However, they still want the ability to transcend between the physical and the spiritual. And be able to stay here in this Garden of Eden. See, we don't see it as a Garden of Eden because we're seeing it while it's contaminated. But if you have been a person that lives in a very nice area or gotten to travel, you can see that this is or has a great potential to be what they call a Garden of Eden. However, we've devastated it. And that goes all back into the various spells that have been cast. You don't even care about this place because you can't see how beautiful it is because it's been contaminated. Bigger agenda, though. We've talked about it. But anyway, the Indians' knowledge is nothing. And see, this is historically the stories I heard. That's what got them in trouble. They had bows and arrows. There was others with guns and cannons. Physicality and spirituality are two different experiences, and they each have differing powers or contributory factors, but they're different nonetheless. Shermans can manipulate the energy here. Energy still, manipulate what? Energy comes in various forms. We have physical form and we have the unseen form. Me blowing my breath or wind or tornado is energy. That's one thing. However, money, a brick house, how can I say this? Let's say a Sherman can manipulate the energy as far as, really cause a big windstorm to tornado. Well, people got money that they can build a shelter to withstand that. You know what I'm saying? So my whole point is there's two different things, and it's often two different things. Where the Sherman may have more power or control over the lesser beings, because they don't know what the Sherman know. They don't know how to move this realm the way the Sherman how to move this realm, so he can destroy all of them up under him. But anybody that has advanced past the Sherman's level, he can't mess with. I don't know if that makes sense. And that's where we are as basic everyday people. We have been manipulated into being the underdog, and we don't even know it. We don't understand how weak we are. And we don't even seem to understand how we gain our power back. At this point in time, it seems it's got to be like a cultic kind of restoration of power through blocked or group effort. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope I'm here for it. I just hope I ain't got to run. How does my female friend born on June 26, 1990 feel about me? She's about 28 years old. Cancer. We have the Two of Pentacles in reverse, pointing back to the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace is the initiation, the onset, the urge to move in order to build something with another. In this case, you want to know how they feel about you. It's about building or developing or sustaining the physical realm. And so what am I saying, Jordan? It could be that there's an interest in physical things like sex and money, home and family. Just depends on what that person's interest is. It goes back into this person's second house of Taurus, their physical worldly wants and needs and desires, and them being satisfied. They have the urge for that. However, they're not quite sure exactly if you can move them forward as far as, satisfying those physical wants. I don't know. It could be that the person may want to, this is a weird example, I know, but they might want you for a boy toy. I'll say like they might want you for a boy toy, but they're not sure they can have you for a boy toy without, emotions going in or developing. They may just want that. Or something like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but something like that. You can switch those things in and out about what they want, and that being all they want, but nothing else. Like, can you just be the toy boy? The toy boy form. If that's okay, let's play. But can't be no more. Or, you the money man. I can do that, but I don't think I can balance any more other than that right now at this point in time in my life. Seems to be what they're talking about. So what they think about you is that you'll do, Jordan. You'll do, as long as you do what they want you to do. Yes, on the spiritual plane. Yep. We have ruined it. Really interesting stuff. It makes me realize how much I have to learn about all this and all the different sects and their influence. Yeah. And that's what I want to say, and that's the overwhelming part that I have a hard time dealing with. And I just say, well, I guess I ain't meant to know everything. I can't know everything, you know. I'm just, you know, studying what I end up landing on and learning what I end up learning. I do believe my studies or what I see are correct, but then I'm not I'll say evil. I might be evil too. I'm human, and so I'm susceptible to error. But I am looking because I would like to have an answer. I started all this because I wanted to answer for my personal life, but I just saw that it wasn't just about me. It was about humanity. And so I look at it from the global standpoint, understanding that I'm a part of all of this. And why I bring that up is because it's so much to study. It's so much to study. It seems like I was like, what were we doing? What was I doing? How could I have been so asleep? I already knew I was naive, but I'm like, how could I have been that asleep that so much information passed me up? I'm also aware that I could never, ever figure out all the answers nor see everything. And that's why it's important for us all to learn something, to share something. We have to create a trust amongst each other and work together. I mean, this stuff here, this whole experience is big. It is tremendous. It really stretches your mental boundaries, because you're like, how can all this stuff be resolved? Especially if we only lived a short period of time that we are projected to live. And that's another thing that brings me to believe. It's been other things, but that brings me to believe in reincarnation, because otherwise this doesn't at all make any sense. It's too short-lived. You can't resolve anything. You're not learning anything. But then the issue about reincarnation is that it's directly connected with the spirit of forgetfulness, and we forgetting every time we go in and out this mother sucker. I don't want to forget no more. I want to know what's going on, because I'm tired of getting dicked. Period. At least that's where I am. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let y'all go. I've been on here for 2 hours and 12 minutes and 15 seconds. Have a nice evening. Love you all. Bye.